Every person watching this has been disrespected by someone, a co-worker, a family member, even a stranger. And every person watching this has wished afterward that they had responded differently. Welcome to Mindfulness, where timeless Buddhist wisdom meets the real difficulties of daily life. In today's video, we are exploring 5 responses to disrespect, each one authentic, each one practical, each one able to shift the entire balance of a difficult moment without raising your voice or losing your peace. These are not tricks for winning arguments. They are practices for becoming someone far harder to unsettle. Watch closely, because the 5th response tends to leave the other person quietly reconsidering themselves. 1. The response of the unshaken mind. In Buddhist practice, there is a quality called equanimity. It is one of 4 qualities of heart that are cultivated together alongside loving kindness, compassion, and shared joy. Equanimity is often the least understood of the 4 because it is sometimes mistaken for coldness or distance. It is neither. Equanimity is the steadiness of mind that remains present no matter what arises, pleasant or unpleasant, praise or blame, respect or disrespect. Think about what actually happens in the moment someone disrespects you. A comment lands, something in your chest tightens, heat rises to your face. This is not weakness. This is simply how the mind and body respond to a perceived threat. The old habit is to either suppress that feeling and pretend it did not happen, or to let it explode outward as anger. Both are reactions. Neither is a response. The practice of equanimity asks for something different. It asks you to notice the reaction as it happens without immediately becoming it. You feel the sting and you stay. You do not push the feeling away and you do not act it out. You simply remain, breathing, aware, present. This pause is where your power actually lives, not in what you say next, but in the space you create before you say anything at all. When you can stand in that space, something remarkable happens. The other person, who was likely expecting a reaction one way or another, meets stillness instead. Not a blank stare, not suppressed rage, a genuine, grounded calm. And calm is disorienting to someone who came looking for a fight. There is nothing to push against. Their words simply arrive and dissolve, and the moment passes without gathering the energy they expected it to gather. This is not a technique you perform in front of others to look impressive. It is a quality you build slowly, often in meditation, by practicing staying present with small discomforts before you ever face a large one. You sit with an itch instead of scratching it immediately. You sit with boredom instead of reaching for your phone. Each of these small moments trains the same muscle you will need when disrespect arrives without warning. Over time, people around you begin to notice something has shifted. Not that you have become harder or colder or more guarded, something gentler than that. They notice that you no longer need their approval to feel settled, and you no longer need to win a moment to feel whole. That quality, more than any clever response, is what teaches people that testing you does not work. Not because you fight back, but because there is nothing in you left unsettled enough to take the bait. This is the first and quietest form of strength, and it is the foundation everything else in this video is built upon. 2. The response of honest and gentle speech. Within the Noble Eightfold Path, one guideline concerns the way we use speech. Traditionally, it points towards speech that is truthful, timely, spoken with kindness, and useful, rather than speech that is false, harsh, or simply added noise. This is often summarized as right speech, and it offers something genuinely practical for the exact moment someone disrespects you. Most people believe there are only two options when they are disrespected: stay silent or say something sharp enough to sting back. But right speech offers a third path, one that is often overlooked because it requires more presence than either silence or sharpness. Right speech means saying exactly what is true, without exaggeration and without cruelty attached to it. If someone insults you, you do not need to insult them back, and you do not need to swallow the moment either. You can speak plainly. You might say, "That comment was unkind, and I would like us to speak differently to each other." No raised voice, no twisting the knife back, just truth delivered cleanly. This lands very differently than either silence or a counterattack. When you stay silent, the moment often gets minimized, even by you. You tell yourself it was not a big deal, when part of you knows it was. When you strike back, the exchange becomes about who can wound more effectively, and the original disrespect gets buried under the fight it created. But honest, gentle speech names the moment for exactly what it was, without adding harm on top of harm. There is something else worth noticing here. Harsh speech, even when it feels justified, tends to plant a seed of regret in the one who speaks it. You may feel a brief satisfaction after a sharp retort, but underneath that satisfaction is often a quiet unease, because you know you added unnecessary suffering to a moment that already held enough. Right speech avoids this entirely. You can walk away from an honest, calm response with a clear conscience, which is rarer than people think. There is a practical way to build this skill. Before responding to disrespect, ask yourself 3 simple questions inwardly. Is what I am about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind, or at least free of cruelty? If your response passes these 3 checkpoints, speak it. If it does not, wait, breathe, and let a truer version form. This practice takes real discipline, because in the heat of a disrespectful moment, the mind wants to reach for whatever will wound fastest. Right speech asks you to slow that impulse down and choose words that reflect the person you actually want to be, not the person the disrespect is trying to provoke. Over time, people learn that you cannot be baited into cruelty, and that alone becomes a form of quiet, undeniable strength. 3. The response of the untouched self. One of the deepest teachings in Buddhist thought concerns the nature of the self. Rather than a fixed, permanent identity, the self is often described as a flowing process made up of changing thoughts, sensations, and perceptions, none of which stay the same from one moment to the next. This teaching is sometimes called non-self, and while it can sound abstract, it becomes remarkably useful in the exact moment someone disrespects you. When someone insults you, what are they actually attacking? Usually it is an image, a reputation, a role you play, a title you hold, a version of yourself that exists mostly in other people's perceptions. This image feels solid because we spend so much energy protecting it. But Buddhist teaching gently points out that this image was never as fixed as it seemed in the first place. Consider what happens when someone calls you lazy or foolish or incapable. The sting comes from the fear that this label might be true or might become how others see you permanently. But if the self is not a fixed, unchanging thing, then no single word, no single moment can define it completely. You are not the comment. You are the awareness that noticed the comment arise, and that awareness is far larger and far steadier than any insult aimed at it. This does not mean you become indifferent to how you treat others or numb to real feedback that might help you grow. It means the part of you that gets defensive, that scrambles to protect a fixed self-image, begins to loosen. And when that part loosens, disrespect has far less to grab onto. Someone can throw an insult, and instead of it lodging somewhere deep, it passes through, because there is no rigid identity standing there, insisting it be defended at all costs. There is a practice that supports this understanding. When you feel the sting of disrespect, pause and ask yourself quietly, what exactly was insulted? Often you will find it was a story about yourself, a story about your competence, your intelligence, your worth, rather than anything essential and unchanging in you. Seeing this clearly, again and again, slowly loosens the grip that other people's words hold over your sense of self. People who disrespect others are often searching for a reaction that confirms their words landed somewhere real. When you respond from this place of loosened identity, calm and unbothered, not because you are suppressing hurt, but because the hurt genuinely has less to attach to, they sense that their words simply did not find their target. There was no fixed, fragile self standing there waiting to be wounded. And that absence, more than any comeback, tends to be the most unsettling response of all, because it suggests a kind of freedom they do not yet have themselves. 4. The response of trusting cause and effect. Karma is one of the most widely known Buddhist concepts, and also one of the most widely misunderstood. It is not punishment handed down from above, and it is not a cosmic scoreboard keeping tally of who deserves what. Karma, in its simplest form, describes the truth that actions have consequences. Every intentional action plants a seed, and that seed tends to bear fruit consistent with its nature, sooner or later, in ways we cannot always predict or witness ourselves. This teaching offers something quietly powerful in moments of disrespect. So often, the urge to retaliate comes from a feeling that if we do not personally deliver consequences, none will come. We feel responsible for making sure the other person learns their lesson, as if justice depends entirely on our own effort. But karma suggests this is not actually our job, and it never was. When someone treats you with disrespect, they are acting from some combination of insecurity, habit, unresolved pain, or simple carelessness. None of these states lead to a peaceful life for the person carrying them. A person who moves through the world disrespecting others is, in a very real sense, already planting seeds of future difficulty for themselves. It shows up in their relationships, in their own restlessness, in the way people slowly begin to distance themselves without ever announcing why. You do not need to add anything to this process. You do not need to become the instrument of consequence yourself. This understanding frees you from a heavy, exhausting job you never needed to take on in the first place. Letting go of the need to personally deliver justice is not the same as accepting mistreatment, and it is not the same as pretending it did not matter. You can still set a boundary. You can still choose distance from someone who repeatedly disrespects you. But you release the compulsion to make sure they suffer for it, because that outcome was never truly in your hands to begin with, and carrying that responsibility only weighs you down further. There is something disarming about a person who can say, calmly and without bitterness, "I am not going to carry this forward," and mean it completely. Someone expecting you to seek revenge, to hold a grudge, to quietly plot some future payback, instead meets a kind of release they did not anticipate. This often unsettles them far more than anger would, because anger confirms they still hold power over your peace. Release suggests the opposite. It suggests you have already moved on, trusting that the natural unfolding of cause and effect will do what it does, with or without your involvement. A simple practice can help this understanding take root. After a disrespectful encounter, silently acknowledge to yourself, "This is theirs to carry, not mine." Repeat it as many times as you need, until the weight of needing to respond with punishment genuinely lifts from your shoulders. This is not passive resignation. It is one of the most active forms of release available to you, and it protects your own peace far more effectively than any retaliation ever could, leaving you lighter long after the moment has passed. 5. The response of loving kindness for the difficult person. Of everything in this video, this final response is the one most likely to feel uncomfortable at first, and it is also the one with the deepest roots and the most transformative power. It comes from the practice of loving kindness meditation, a practice found across many Buddhist traditions in which a person deliberately cultivates warmth and goodwill, beginning with themselves, extending outward to loved ones, then to neutral people they barely know, and eventually, quite intentionally, to those who have caused them difficulty. This last stage, sometimes called the difficult person, is considered one of the most demanding parts of the practice and also one of the most valuable. It does not ask you to pretend someone's behavior was acceptable. It does not ask you to forget what happened or to invite more disrespect into your life by lowering your guard. It asks something far more precise than forgiveness in the way we usually understand it. It asks you to wish sincerely that this person be free from whatever suffering causes them to act this way in the first place. This might sound impossible in the moment, right after someone has disrespected you, and that is completely understandable. But consider for a moment what disrespect usually comes from. Rarely does it come from someone who feels genuinely at peace with themselves. It tends to come from insecurity, from fear of being seen as small, from old wounds that were never properly tended to, or from a deep discomfort the person has simply not yet learned to sit with quietly. Recognizing this does not excuse their behavior, and it does not mean you owe them anything further. It simply reveals what is actually happening underneath the moment, which changes how heavy that moment needs to feel afterward. Here is how this practice looks in a real moment. After someone disrespects you, instead of moving straight to anger or even to the detached calm we spoke about earlier, you pause and you silently offer a simple, private wish. Something like, "May you find whatever peace you are missing that causes you to treat others this way." You do not need to say this aloud. You do not need the person to ever know you thought it. This is a quiet practice, done first for your own heart, though its effects tend to ripple outward in ways you may not immediately see. This response often produces the most striking reaction of all 5, precisely because it is the least expected. People who disrespect others are usually prepared for anger. They are prepared for silence, for cleverness, even for calm, unreadable detachment. They are rarely prepared for genuine, uncalculated warmth directed back at them, especially warmth with no performance attached to it. It confuses the entire dynamic because there is nothing left for them to defend against. You are not attacking, and you are not retreating either. You are simply refusing to let their behavior determine the condition of your own heart, and that refusal tends to be more disarming than any sharp reply could ever be. There is also something this practice does for you, entirely apart from how the other person responds or whether they ever change at all. Holding on to resentment keeps you quietly tied to the moment of disrespect long after it has actually ended, replaying itself in your mind at inconvenient hours. Loving kindness, even towards someone who has wronged you, is often described less as a gift given to them and more as a release granted to yourself. It loosens the grip that moment has on your thoughts, allowing you to return fully to your own life, your own peace, your own day, rather than carrying someone else's behavior around with you for hours or days afterward. This does not mean you owe anyone continued closeness, renewed trust, or another chance to repeat the same harm. Boundaries and loving kindness are not opposites, and they can exist together completely. You can wish someone well from a comfortable distance. You can genuinely hope for their peace while still choosing, firmly and without guilt, never to be disrespected by them again. This response, more than any other in this video, tends to leave people quietly reflecting on their own behavior afterward, not because you shamed them or made them feel small, but because you met their disrespect with something they simply did not know how to categorize or push against. And in the end, there is nothing more disarming or more freeing for you than that. These 5 responses are not tricks, and they are not meant to be memorized like clever lines for the next argument. They are practices, and like all genuine practices, they deepen slowly, through repetition, patience, and honest intention, not through perfection or getting it right the very first time you try. You do not need to master all 5 today. In fact, trying to hold on to everything at once often makes it harder to remember any of it when the moment actually arrives. Instead, choose just one that felt most true to you as you listened, and quietly carry it with you into your week. Let it be the one thing you return to the next time someone tests your peace, rather than trying to recall all 5 at once under pressure. Real change, the kind that actually lasts, rarely comes from information alone. It comes from small, repeated moments of choosing differently than you have before, especially in situations where the old habit feels easier and far more familiar. If this video brought you some genuine peace today, consider subscribing to Mindfulness for more reflections rooted in authentic Buddhist wisdom, offered gently and honestly, without hype attached to it. And if someone in your life is carrying the weight of disrespect right now, consider sending this to them today, not as a lesson, but simply as something kind. Until next time, may you meet whatever comes your way with a steady heart and a peace that nothing outside of you can easily disturb.